Hey, what is up, everybody? Steve Breach coming to you, chilling here, watching Impact Wrestling tonight. I'm watching this from Thursday because I didn't have a chance to watch it Thursday, Friday, or I guess today is now Saturday. And breezing through this right now, sipping my margarita. I ate some Johnsonville brats that I cooked up after I got off work. And the show's pretty good, but the one thing that really jumped out at me more than anything was they announced that TNA is going to be doing another Hall of Fame induction. Come Bound for Glory. Honestly, to me, when it came down to it, I thought that it was going to be like a one and done sort of thing. I thought that maybe the TNA Hall of Fame, like some people that went to it, like freaking 88, said that it was a real cool thing to actually be at and attend. But it got knocked pretty hard when TNA said they were going to do this. And I know it's one more event that they added the Bound for Glory weekend. And it makes it a little bit, fun to go there and actually sit at a table with a wrestler and, see somebody get inducted. And last year would have been awesome to be there to see somebody like Sting, who's never been inducted into a wrestling Hall of Fame like the WWE one, inducted into a company's Hall of Fame to get a little bit of, recognition for everything that he's done for the business. Now TNA, it could have been a one-hit wonder, but they're bringing it back, like I said. And I came up with a list of 6 guys. It was pretty popular last year. People trying to, say who was going to be that one guy that got, the first member of the TNA Hall of Fame. Basically a few of these names I just put on here just to get the names higher. I really think I have it narrowed down to the one guy that it's going to be, even though it doesn't really make sense to put him in at this point right now. Number 6 would be Ken Shamrock. I don't really see this happening, but he doesn't really have anything going on. He was the first NWA TNA champion. He won the belts, I think, in wasn't it just like a Royal Rumble? Basically, he was the last guy in there, and he was the guy that was the name of TNA. It was all about Jeff Jarrett, and I think it was mostly because everybody thought that Jarrett was going to make himself champion of his own company. He became the first champion. It didn't last all that long, but he at least gets that recognition of being the first guy to hold that title, even though it's changed a few times over the past. But let's cross him off. Bam. Not going to happen. Probably the biggest name to ever step into TNA, and the one guy that when he got there, some people had got there before and people said, man, TNA's really going to change and it's going to go up. If anything's really going to make them step up and, want to be on the same levels of it to be, going into the Monday Night Wars and everything like that, was Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan came in as being the guy that was going to be the name of the company, and he was also going to bring in his wrestling mind. And maybe that's what's got him into some of the troubles that they haven't been able to jump over this hump that they're stuck in right now. But I do think that Hulk Hogan does need definite recognition for what he is doing to TNA. I don't think in 2010, if Hogan didn't come in, I don't think that they would have closed. But I think that the spot that they're holding now is definitely higher than anywhere they would be if it wasn't for Hogan. Now, Hogan, I don't think. He's a pretty, all about me kind of guy. But honestly, I think at this point, I think what he does on TV to put himself into these big angles is what TNA needs, and it needs to be built around him. I don't think he needs the recognition. He's already a WWE Hall of Famer. I don't think he wants to be recognized as a TNA Hall of Famer. He doesn't need that. He'd rather help out the guys that are around him. There's been times I really thought Hogan was going to step into the ring and just put the TNA title on himself, just to say that he had it, just to make that resume look better, maybe, put a little stat on his Wikipedia page. But I think we can go ahead and cross off Hulk Hogan's name as a guy who's not going to be going in. Now, number 4 is honestly the biggest impact guy they've ever brought in. I'm going to say Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle is the guy that, got out of his WWE contract, was having some personal problems related to not being able to pass wellness policy. His neck was beaten up to the point where, he was begging Vince to give him time off. Vince wouldn't give him time off. And they basically said, if you're not going to work house shows, if you're not going to work the WWE schedule, go home, get better. The problem was that they didn't keep him under contract. They released him. WWE, I don't think it was really hurting for money at the time, but I think they released him basically as a way to cut some corners and cut some cost, and just told them, give us a call when you're ready. Like, I don't think that Vince thought I don't think he had any doubt in his mind that Angle would go to TNA. I thought he would stay in the WB and always be a WB guy, but he made the mistake. Dixie Carter called him up, and they were able to sign him to a deal, and they brought him to the like a special taping, and they filmed the backstage segment, which aired. It wasn't really a backstage segment. It was him like in a warehouse. Almost looked like the opening to Raw's War back in the day, and said, "It's real, it's damn real," saying that he was showing up at TNA. And I don't remember what the main event of the pay-per-view was, but the commercial thing ran right after the main event ended, and it was awesome to see, you know, him on there. It was in shock. It was before the Twitter days, but it was definitely. I went on my wrestling message boards that I used to go on to trade DVDs, and there was a spot in there to talk about actual wrestling and not trading, and it blew up. It was like the biggest story that happened in a long time. He came in, they gave us the dream matches with him and Samoa Joe, and it raised TNA to the places they had never been before. But I don't think Angle's in the spot. I don't think Angle's gonna want to be in the Hall of. If Angle goes in this Hall of Fame, they're gonna be backed into a corner basically where they don't have anybody else to put him in there, and they want him to be there. I don't think Angle really needs this until he goes, until he's finally done. So we'll cross Angle off the list at number 4. Number 3 is Christian. Christian Cage came in. He was honestly the biggest guy. They kept on picking up the WB rejects, the guys that were getting released. First, it was Raven. Raven came in, and he was able to elevate TNA as having their first guy that was there from WB. Then it came Rhino, and as these guys kept coming in, you kept on knowing they were going to give him the title, because once they put the title on him on a pay-per-view, it became wrestling news, and then more people found out about it. If they weren't watching the product, they would at least get that wrestling headline on a wrestling dirt sheet. Ron Killings wins the title, Christian Cage wins title, Rhino wins title, Raven wins title. The list goes on and on about all these WB guys that were coming in there and winning it. Very smart in their minds. The first way I ever found out about ECW was when Bam Bam won the TV title, and Bam Bam was the guy at the time who I hadn't seen in a long time, and I thought maybe he was washed up and it was done for. And I thought it was pretty good that there was a company out there that was giving him a title, and I kept on going back every newsletter that I would get and reading the ECW results to see if Bam Bam was keeping up with his title and how he was doing. And in between that, I became a fan and got sucked in. Oh, but about Christian's not going to happen, because basically if you think about the whole, dance they had to do basically last year, trading for Ric Flair to bring him in for Slammiversary, they weren't even able to, and they said they were bringing him in for some DVD project. TNA hasn't released a damn DVD that wasn't a pay-per-view since the Immortal DVD, 2 years ago. Where the fuck is this coming out? DVD money is the easiest money to get from wrestling people. If you put a wrestling DVD out that's not a wrestling pay-per-view, like a documentary or something like that, that's easy money for TNA. Why they are not doing this, I have no clue. Maybe because the guys I bet the guy that's in charge of the wrestling DVD documentaries is Jeremy Borash, and I bet he's just so spread thin. He's not able to make these, and that's why they're not coming out. But why there isn't a new, you could easily make another Christian Cage set and make some money off his name. You can easily make a Kurt Angle DVD, Christopher Daniels DVD, AJ Styles DVD. AJ's the only guy who's got a volume 2. You could have a volume 3, 4, and 5 out of that guy. But very, very stupid. They haven't corrected that mistake. But I don't think Christian's going to be that guy, because how much trouble they had to do last year to be able to get him in there. Number 2 guy, Jeff Jarrett, one of my favorite guys to ever be in TNA. And the only reason I don't think he's going to be that guy is because of the lack of respect that Jeff Jarrett has right now. I don't want to be the guy who comes out and spoils the monthly pay-per-views that they're running for you. I won't tell you who won them, but I will tell you that there's a pay-per-view coming up called the 10-year anniversary, even though Slammiversary is sort of that anniversary show. It was like they brought everybody back from the past 10 years, all the biggest names. Jeff Jarrett wasn't even invited to that. And on top of that, they ran another weekly pay-per-view that's already been taped. It was called the Tournament of Champions. It was all the world champions from back in the day got brought back, put into a tournament to see who was the best champion that they ever had in order to put somebody over. And Jeff Jarrett wasn't even invited to the show. He wasn't booked for anything. There was no conflict of interest. Just TNA didn't want to bring the guy in. The backstage story is that, when the whole Jeff and Karen thing broke out, Dixie Carter called Jeff and asked if there was anything going on, because there was rumors going on that they were together, and Jeff lied to Dixie and said there was nothing there. And then later the whole story really came out and really broke, and I think Dixie lost a whole lot of faith in Jeff, and that's why he's not involved with anything that TNA is doing. And I'm not saying that if Jeff Jarrett would have came in, it would have saved the Ace and Eights angle, because I think it's a whole lot better that Bully Ray's in charge. But it's really surprising to somebody who's watched this start to finish that somebody like Jeff Jarrett or Eric Bischoff wasn't the guy that was in there. But Jeff Jarrett, you're getting the cross off, because if you can't get booked on these monthly pay-per-views that nobody's watching, nobody's buying, let alone nobody's even watching him, streaming him. You don't see any reviews, anything on this. Like, this is beyond, by far, crazy. Number one guy, the guy that's going to be going in there, is AJ Styles. AJ Styles is what put TNA on the map. If you knew anything about TNA, it is because of AJ Styles throughout the days. And he is like, you remember back when they made their debut on Spike TV, AJ Styles was the guy that was voted, to show off the wrestling talent by the fans that were of TNA. They went on the TNA wrestling website. They had a thing to vote for who was going to wrestle in that first match. So the people that were tuning in to watch Impact for the first time, I remember they ran a huge campaign that if you're a wrestling fan, you have to watch TNA wrestling on Spike TV, just to give it that one chance, just so you couldn't say anything bad about it without being a guy who actually was a fan of it. And AJ was the guy who won that. AJ's the guy that you always heard about if you weren't a TNA fan, that was always burning down the house, having matches with guys like Christopher Daniels. He was the first Triple Crown champion, I guess you can say, winning the NWA TNA title, the tag titles, and the X Division titles. AJ's done it all. He's working from the beginning of the card. He went to the main event. He, redid himself basically around Christian Cage, and that hurt a lot of, wrestling fans of his, minds on what they thought of it, and they put him in the Prince AJ thing, and that was honestly one of the best things they ever did for his career. It made him look real stupid for a 2-year period. He was tagging with Tomko, basically wasn't getting to any main events. He was just, revolving around the tag team championship. But, being Prince AJ and going through the whole storyline with him and Karen Angle, it basically made AJ talk a whole lot more on TV. Even if he wasn't talking in a real serious mode, it helped his promos out to the point that he's at now, that he's not really saying anything on Impact now, but there's going to come a day when he has to lay down a huge thing about why he's being involved with the Aces and Eights and all that stuff. Oh, AJ's on TV right now. I started making this video during the Knockouts match, and all of a sudden now he's in there getting initiated into Aces and Eights, and see how this all pans out. But AJ Styles is my vote. I know it doesn't make any sense, but by the time that it comes around to Bound for Glory, he will be the guy that more than likely is taking on Aces and Eights and will be taking the title away. Now, they're going to be naming the person at Slammiversary, and he's not really with TNA at that time. He's going to be fighting against Kurt Angle, who's like the leader of TNA right now. So, I don't know how that works out, but we'll have to find out. But AJ Styles is my pick for the second choice to go into the TNA Hall of Fame.